Good day. So we are group 6 and we will be discussing about the environmental issues in international relations. So at the end of the discussion, you will be able to learn about the definition of environmental problems, 5 common environmental problems, and the causes and effects, international cooperation, environmental security and resource conflicts, biodiversity loss and international conservation efforts and efforts, and the last one is environmental justice and the global south. So, first, let's define what is environmental issues. So, environmental issues is a problem that affect the planet's natural system and the living organism that depend on them. These issues are often caused by human activities that pollute the environmental, deplete national resources, and disrupt ecosystems. So, morning mga environmental issues, morning ginabuhat sa mga tao, mga human being, na sila ra gyapon ang makadaot sa atoang planets. So, next is the international. Let's define the international nations. So, relation. So, international relation is the study of the interaction between states and other actor in the international system. So, it examines the complex web of relations, power, dynamics, and cooperation that shapes global affairs. So, international relation is morning mga relations sa every country na mag-cooperate sila when it comes to environmental issues. So, it is examine the complex of relationship and the power and dynamics and cooperation kung saan nila pagsulbad nga inani nga issues na gakahitabo sa ilahang country. So naay kanang connected, naay cooperation, so naay tinabang nga when it comes sa environmental issues na gakahitabo sa ilahang country. So, what is environment issues in international nation? So, environmental issues in international relations refer to global environmental challenges that affect multiple countries and require international collaboration to address. So, these issues from human activities that impact ecosystem, climate, and natural resources, leading to cross-border effects on security, economic development, and human well-being. So, ang environmental issues daw in international relation is mao ni ang mga gakahitabo sa country nga na naa sila yung mga um, issues, mga environmental issues like climate change, like deforestation. So, within this country nga naay mga inani nga mga issues is naay collaboration nga mahitabo, naay tinabanga. So, ang ga-cause lang pud ani is ang mga human being, mga binuhatan sa mga tao. So, it explains how human being is very walay respeto sa nation, walay respeto sa planet. It's because sila lang gyapon ang gadaot. So, our topic is discussing the environmental issues in international nation.
Today, I will be discussing the 5 common environmental issues that challenge the international relations. First is the climate change. So, what is climate change? It refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. Human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Climate change is a significant global issue affecting sea levels, temperature, weather, and food and water supplies. It requires international cooperation from nations with different priorities and resources. Climate change is not only an ecological problem but also a political and sociological one. It requires extensive joint action. Next is the deforestation, refers to the decrease in forest areas across the world that are lost for other uses such as agricultural croplands, urbanization, and mining activities. Deforestation is one of the major challenges faced by international relations tungod kay it transcends borders o naay global impact. And ang pagkat sa mga kahoy is kung makaapekto siya sa local climate pero nagdako usab ang epekto sa global warming and biodiversity loss. Countries often struggle to strike a balance between economic development and environmental conservation. And then it result to conflicts of interest. And other countries, especially sa katong mga developing pa nga mga countries, is depende lang sila or they are dependent sa mga natural resources. And then this creates a complex web of negotiations and compromises in international agreements like the kanang bitawng mga climate rates bitaw. And then deforestation highlights the need for collaboration and shared responsibilities among nations para ma-prevent ang katong mga serious bitaw nga effect niya especially sa atong environment.
Next to that is the ocean pollution. Also called marine pollution is a mixture of both chemical contamination trash. The act of ocean pollution occurs when chemicals and trash are either washed, blown, or intentionally dumped into the ocean. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration or the NOAA, billions of pounds of trash and other pollutants enter our ocean every day. Ocean pollution is a significant challenge in international relations tungod kay ang mga dagat is ga-share the resources sa daghang nasod ug dili malikayan nga ang epekto ani is makaapekto gid sa tanan. And then ang paglabay og basura or plastic and other chemicals sa atong ocean is maka-create gid siya og kanang kuan bitaw damage sa atong marine ecosystem. And then makaapekto po siya sa mga fisheries, biodiversities o livelihood sa coastal communities. Countries face difficulties in enforcing regulation tungod kay ang ocean walay klaro nga boundaries. And then sometimes ang uban pod nga countries is dili po sila ga-cooperate bitaw. And then example, ang mga large scale nga fishing operations o oil spills mahimong kanang reason or nga naay conflict in the international aspect, especially kung naapil ang territorial waters. Need o kanabitang sa mas tight nga international agreement o shared efforts aron nga ma-resolve ang problem sa atong kuan sa ocean. And then kay if ever manggod is kanang kung ato na siyang pasagdaan is magpadayon siya nga maka-apekto sa ato ang environment. The fourth one is the water scarcity, is the lack of fresh water resources to meet the standard water demand. There are two types of water scarcity, the physical and the economic water scarcity. The last one is the biodiversity loss, reduction in the number of genes, individual organism and species and ecosystem in a given area. And then the influencer is the human population growth, increasing consumption, reduce resource efficiency. And then the primary drivers is the habitat loss, invasive species overexploitation, pollution, climate change associated with global warming. Biodiversity loss exists primarily due to human activities that disrupt ecosystem and natural habitats. Deforestation, urbanization, and agricultural expansion destroy habitats, leaving many species without the resources they need to survive. Pollution, including plastic waste, chemical runoff, and air pollution, degrades ecosystem and harms wildlife.
overexploitation of natural resources such as overfishing and poaching further reduce population of key species. Climate change exacerbates biodiversity.
So, good day everyone, and especially Sir Troy. In this juncture, I will be discussing about the certain causes of existing environmental issues internationally. So, environmental issues are disruptions in the usual functions of ecosystems. These issues can be caused by humans, which is the human impact on the environment, or they can be natural. These issues can be considered serious when the ecosystems cannot recover in the present situation, and it's catastrophic if the ecosystem is projected to certainly collapse. Well, naamang jud ko sas gyud kung anong naay kahitabo nga environmental issues. Problem lang gyud is that naay certain issues nga maupod siya, or it can also become a cause of another environmental issue to arise. Actually, kining naay, for example, naay issue, naay cause sa environmental issue nga mahimo pud siyang cause for another environmental issue to arise. So, nga na siya. For example, ang deforestation, based sa mention ni Jamaica kaganina, deforestation is one of the main issues of environmental issues nga iyang gi-discuss. And deforestation is also a cause of why there is a climate change nga kahitabo diri sa atoang international nga context sa internationally, diba? Climate change is also an environmental issue. Ug mo gina ang first nga example ni Jamaica. So instead nga gilist na ko tong mga causes of environmental issues, ako na lang sila nga categorize according to human causes and natural causes, as what I have mentioned sa akong introduction, para ma-focus nato specifically kung unsa jud ang gisugdan or causes sa mga environmental issues nga kakahitabo internationally. So, sa natural causes na ako'y burning of fossil fuels, overpopulation, urbanization, industrial agriculture, transportation emissions, and overconsumption. So, burning of fossil fuel is one of the causes of environmental issues because this includes burning of coal, oil, and gas. So, muna sila ang mga fossil fuels, kining mga coal, oil, and gas. And this can significantly contribute greenhouse gases that drives climate change. For example, kana mga factory nga ga-release og mga kining itong mga aso bitaw nga muna siya ang maka-cause of air pollution. Og actually kana sila nga mga magud sila nga mga aso, carbon dioxide na sila nga moadto na sila sa gawas atmosphere ug mo na sila ang muputos sa atuang earth, mo nga mag-cause kung anong dili makaginhawa ang atuang planet, then mo din nga init gid kayo ang atuang panahon. Bisan pa mangganig sayo pa kaayo kay init na kay tumagwanta ang kainit sa panahon. So, ang ikaduha is ang overpopulation. So, the larger the population na kuno, the larger the demand for food, water, and energy, which can lead to over-extracting of natural resources and depletion of ecosystems, which can also lead to environmental degradation. So, muna siya, kung daghan kayo ang tao, daghan kayo mag-demand og pagkaon, water, and energy, then ang uban dili nagkaka tagaan og source of food, mo na rin nga ila rin tong kanang abuse na rin tong mga kaning mga pagkaon nga nasa environment nga bisag bawal sa kaunon. So inga na siya magtaas ang demand sa pagkaon, and it can lead to environmental issues kay it can also lead to environmental degradation. So, ikatulo is ang urbanization. Urbanization is also one of the causes of environmental issues because of activities like expansion of urban cities to make way for infrastructures, resulting in decreased biodiversity and the loss of ecosystems services. So because of this rapid city development, it can lead to habitat destruction, increased population, and greater resource consumptions. So, ikaapat din is ang industrial agriculture. So, agricultural activities like intensive farming methods releases greenhouse gases like methane and nitrous oxide that harms our ecosystems. Also, using chemical fertilizers and pesticides degrades soil health, and it can also contaminates the water resources. So, muna siya, magamit ka og mga pesticides, mga fertilizer sa inyong pag-uma, sa mga kanalaging mga farming, na it can also contribute issues in the environment. So, ikalima is ang transportation emissions. So, increased vehicle use contributes to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. The more vehicle we use, the more greenhouse gases ang gaka-trap sa atmosphere sa atuang Earth. So, diba, kanilaging mga sakyanan lagi ka ng aso kay gagamit ng taog gas ana, and mabalik na po dito sa using of fossil fuels. So, kanang mga fossil fuels, mga kuan na sila, mga fossil fuels, makadaot na siya sa itong environment. Ang ikaunom din ang overconsumption. So, ang overconsumption, mara po na siya connected dira sa overpopulation. Kay high demand for products can lead to resource depletion and increased waste generation. So, muna ni gadaghan na nila itong mga sagbot. Gadaghan ng environmental waste that made it harder to waste. Maglisod na rin ta kung hanin po yung labi atong mga sagbot, kay kaning itong kidaghan lagi kaayo na labaw na nga ang mga tao pagid kay responsable pagyud in recycling or pag bulag-bulag sa ilang mga sagbot, bisan ganig malata isagol sa dili malata hinga na. So maglisod taog kaning kuan nga ang katong mga ma-recycle pa unta is magamit pa nasagulan tog mga malata, mga glass. So nagkasagol-sagol ang mga sagbot, no mo na siya. Then isa pa ni is ang overconsumption. It can also lead to water pollution because you know what, naayuban mga tao nga ilang mga basura ilabay nila sa lake or sa mga tubig. Then muna siya ang mag-lead to water pollution, kay ang water mag-pollute man na siya sa sagbot nga inyong gilabay. Then makakuan pud na siya og kanang mga naybaha, mag-trap na siya sa katutong kanal. It can also result sa mga baha-baha na dayon dara sa mga dalan, especially sa mga urban cities. So yeah, mao na siya. Karon, let's move on to the natural causes or causes nga ga-involve lang siya sa kanang say kakahitabo sa ato ang sa natural causes. So, natural causes includes natural disasters, soil erosion, volcanic eruptions, wildfires, and ocean currents. So, ang first is ang natural disasters. So, natural disasters, while often perceived as act of nature and have profound and lasting impacts on the environment, natural disasters also creates multiple challenges that threatens our ecosystems, biodiversity, and human being. So, these events that ranges from hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, and etc. leave behind a trail of destruction that can take years or if not decades to recover from. So, noon siya kanang pang magbagyo, ang mga sagbot din sa tubig can cause water pollution. So, muna siya. Soil erosion. So, soil erosion also leads to a significant environmental issue, including loss of biodiversity, water pollution, and it can also increase flooding and desertification. So, ikatulo is ang volcanic eruptions, which can also create various environmental issues like deterioration of air quality. It can also leave an impact on the climate because of the sulfur dioxide that the volcano releases. So, the water contamination also is one of the factors where katulad itong mga aso o katong mga chemicals nga gigawa sa katong pagbuto sa vulkan can pollute water supply that can affect drinking water quality and agricultural productivity. So katong mga aso din nga mapadulong siya sa tubig, especially kanang mga tubig gigikan magina sila sa mga bukid, di ba? Malagputan na siya ato ang katong mga aso, katong mga chemicals nga gibugwa sa volcano, it can pwede na siya nga makakuan sa atong environment, especially sa kaning health sa mga tao nga mag-inom atong tubig. And also it can affect agricultural productivity. So, ang ikapat is ang wildfires. Wildfires contributed to climate change by releasing greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This can exacerbate global warming that can create a cycle where higher temperatures can lead to more frequent and intense wildfires. So, muna for example, katong nahitabo sa Sabangan last year ba to nga part sa Sabangan nga nasunog daw. So, katong aso lagi, pwede ka po na siya na maka-contribute sa air pollution. Kaya ang katumang carbon dioxide nga na sa katong pagsunog lagi sa mga kahoy can also contribute to the issue of climate change. So, ang last din is ang ocean currents, which these ocean currents have move water around the earth that can affect the weather and marine life in the earth, as warm currents bring heat while cold currents cool things down. So, human actions like pollution and climate change can disrupt these currents that leads to harming the environment. So, more to ako ang part no, that was the causes of why nga nung nagakita po nga environmental issues sa atong international aspect or sa atong kalibutan karon. So, that was it.
Good day, everyone. So, since my group mates had already discussed what is environmental issues in international relations and what are the 5 common environmental issues and its causes, I am going to discuss the effects of environmental issues in international relations. So, let us first discuss what is its economic effects. Economic effects of environmental issues is the inflation. So, as we all know, if naay mahitabo nga, like for example, pareha ng, diba, ang effects sa isa ka kuan kay maka-effect siya og kanang pwede siya nga kanang naay mga disasters nga mahitabo, and then which is maka-cause siya og inflation kay ang mga agricultural products nga ginagamit nato sa mga uban products is kanang magkuan siya magtaas iyahang prices kay gaka-damage ang uban, and then napoy times nga maglisod og trade ta sa mga products mo nang ga-increase gyud ang atoang mga cost sa mga products nato. And then next is supply chain disruption. Like lagi kanang for example kanang sa trading, makakuan siya nga mag-increase bitaw ang disruption kay for example na ay kanang isa ka disaster nga nahitabo and then maglisod ta og trade ani kay kailangan pa i-fix or kailangan pa mag-pause sa tao sa mga trading kay naay gakahitabo nga mga disasters. And then next is it reduce productivity. Like for example sa global warming no nga gakahitabo kay kuan gyud siya sa maka reduce gyud siya sa productivity sa usa ka employee kay for example init na kaayo murag dili ba gyud ta rin ganahan nga magsigig kuan kay kapoy kayo inana murag kanang maka-cause gyud siya og maka-reduce gyud siya og productivity sa isa ka tawo makahimo siya og mga employee nga tapulan inana. Next is loss of tourism. So kuan siya so I can say nga maka-loss siya sa tourism kay for example sa mga economy nga ilaga kuan bitaw sila depende sila sa tourism and then if ever nga naa dayoy mahitabo nga kanang environmental issue is kanang mawala bitaw ang kuan sa ilahang tourism and then maka-cause siya og ay maka-affect din siya sa economy ana nga certain places. The next is it increase inequality. So now I am going to discuss the physical effects of environmental issues. So pag may tag physical is makita na to ang iyahang mga effects. So for example is ang first is ang health issues. So it can really affect our health kay syempre 'di ba kanang pag nanay mga issues ngayon na mag-create gyud dayon siya og unhealthy nga environment and then yeah which could cause all the things that I have stated here sa health issues. So next is disasters, especially mas mataas ang possibility mas mag-flood, mas mag-drought, and maka-cause pod siya og mga wildfires. So it could really cause disasters no such as katulaging mga gipang state nako sa PPT as there is a PPT is because kanang for example sa global warming kay pag init gyud kayo na siya and then nga gamay lang kayo nga mga fires nga kuan mo dako dayon siya kay tungod sa global warming tungod sa kainit. And then next is food and water insecurity. So tungod bitaw sa mga environmental issues kay ang food and water is dili na bitaw kayo then siya ma-sustain in every state sa international kay 'di ba for example nagtag-init and then wala kayo nangaguba or nangadaot ang mga pananom sa isa ka state or dili lang sa isa ka state pero nangadaot ang mga pananom and then makakuan gyud siya nga dili secure din ang food and dili din ma-produce ang food nga kailanganan sa isa ka state tungod sa environmental issues. Next, I am going to discuss the personal effects. So, unsay epekto niya sa ato personally. So, first is stress and anxiety associated with environmental problems. So, makakos siya og stress and anxiety sa ato. Like, for example, is kakabantayan na nato nga grabe na kayo gapekto ang usa ka environmental issues which is makahunaw na din ta nga or mabalaka ta or makakos gyud siya og anxiety o stress ato kay unsaon na lang dayon ni nato if dili secure ang atong food or if kanang makakuan siya makakos gyud siya og flood and all like for example pareha atong pandemic no na ay nagtrending atong pandemic na about siya sa katong the world will end inana nga mga trending bitaw and then nakakos siya og stress o anxiety sa tao kay murag kabalaka ang tao tungod sa mahitabo dayon kay guba na daw kaayo ang atoang mother nature. Next is environmental issues diminish quality of life by reducing access to clean air, water, and natural spaces. So kanang environmental issues could really kanang murag makuan din siya maka-create siya og hindrance sa to para maka-access ta sa fresh air, fresh water, and all kay lagi polluted na kayo ta kanang grabe na ang global warming and then grabe na ang gakahitabo sa kalibutan about sa environment nga grabe na ang gakahitabo nga mga environmental issues so kanang dili na dayon nato sa lisod na kay access sa mga mga natural spaces. Then third is it can force people to migrate from their homes due to the factors like rising sea levels, desertification, and resource scarcity. Like, for example, is nagpuyo mo sa kalugar nga bahaunon kayo and then tungod sa environmental issues is nagsamot bitaw ang baha dito mas dili kayo siya worse dito and then nagsamot bitaw siya tungod sa environmental issues is maka cause siya sa tao to migrate. So isa siya sa mga push factors no nga mag-migrate ang mga tao kay lagi then inana pod taas og risk nga kanang mabagyohan sila or kanang kulang ilahang mga resources dera kay tungod sa lagi sa mga environmental issues. So that's all for my part.
Good day, everyone. So, for today, in continuation with our report, I am going to talk about the solutions or the international cooperation with regards to the environmental issues. So, first, let's define what is international cooperation. So, it refers to the collaborative efforts between countries to address global challenges and achieve common goals. The European Union works with international partners and is recognized as the leader of environmental action worldwide. International cooperation is essential to confront global environmental challenges. So, basically, ang European Union gyud ang pamuno bitaw para masolve ang mga environmental issues nga gaka-experience sa ato ang Earth. These are the overviews nga nganong ang European Union yun ang gapangusog para masolve ni nga mga issues. So first is Europeans enjoy high environmental standards. So European enjoys high environmental standards kay this means that Europe has strict rules and regulations to protect the environment. For example, they might have laws about how much pollution factories can release or how much waste they can produce. Like, gimo sila rules and regulations para mapanatili ang ka-healthy sa kuan sa ilang environment. That is why nahimo pod sila nga kanang inspiration bitaw sa other countries, then they inspire us pod nga inana kanang dapat inani pod atong buhaton para ma-save ang atong environment. Next is the European Union plays in an active role in multilateral environmental agreements and other environmental negotiations and processes. So, nani sila yung mga partnerships with other countries kay that is why it is called international cooperation kay mag-cooperate man ang everyone. So, the European Union plays an active role in multilateral environmental agreements and other environmental negotiations and processes. This means that Europe works with other countries to solve global problems, environmental problems rather. For example, they might have worked together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or protect endangered species. Next is the European Union is working internally and globally to promote sustainable development, shifting towards low carbon and resource efficient economies. This means nga ang Europe is trying to use less energy and resources and move towards cleaner ways of doing things. They want to reduce their impact on the environment and create more sustainable future. Next is they also kanang transforming social and economic systems nga which means nga gina-improve nila ang atong relationship with nature bitaw nga kanang gakasabtan bitaw ta sa Europe nga nature is important and is trying to make decisions that protects it. They want to make sure that economic growth doesn't come at the cost of the environment. So, basically, mo to siya ang reasons nga no, ang European Union mo siya ang leader or ga-inspire globally and internationally to protect our environment. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So, my topic is all about environmental security and resource conflict. So, first, let's define environmental security and resource conflict. So, environmental security is a broad concept that recognizes the interconnectedness between environmental issues and global security. It acknowledges that environmental degradation, resource scarcity, and climate change can pose significant threats to human well-being, social stability, and national security. And environmental security has three key aspects, which non-military threats that focuses on threats that are non-directly related to military conflicts such as pollution, deforestation, climate change, and resource scarcity. Next is human security. It emphasizes the impact of environmental threats on individuals, communities, and their livelihoods. Next is international stability. It recognizes that environmental challenges can destabilize nations and contribute to conflict impacting international relations. Next is resource conflict. Resource conflicts refers to disputes or conflicts that arise over access, control, or distribution of resources, particularly those that are scarce or essentials for survival. These resources can include water, land, minerals, energy, and even fishing grounds. So understanding the link between environmental security and resource conflict is essential for developing effective strategies to promote peace, security, and sustainable development. So next is understanding environmental security. So environmental security is understanding environmental security expands the traditional notion of security, which primarily focused on military threats and interstate conflicts. It acknowledges that non-military threats such as environmental degradation and resource scarcity can have profound impacts on human security and international security. So, environmental security beyond the traditional security. So, traditional security is focused on military threats, interstate wars, and the use of force, while environmental security expands this traditional security to include non-military threats like climate change, pollution, deforestation, and resource scarcity. These factors can have significant consequences for human well-being, national stability, and international relations. Next is resource scarcity and conflict. So one of the most prominent areas of study within environmental security is the link between resource scarcity and conflict. As the population grows and demand for resource increases, competition for scarce resources like water, land, and minerals intensifies. And these competitions can lead to tensions and conflicts, particularly in regions with weak governance, existing social tensions, and a history of resource disputes. Next is example of resource conflicts abound or arise. Water conflicts. So in the Middle East, with its arid climate and limited water resources, has witnessed numerous conflicts over water access, such as involving the Jordan River basin. Next is the land disputes. So, in sub-Saharan Africa, land degradation and competition for arable land have contributed to conflicts like the Darfur conflict. Next is resource extraction. So the Niger Delta conflict in Nigeria exemplifies how exploitation of natural resources such as oil and gas can fuel conflict, particularly when coupled with inadequate distribution of benefits and corruption. Next is challenges to global and environmental security. So, transboundary nature of environmental challenges. So, many environmental issues such as air and water pollution, climate change, and biodiversity loss transcend national boundaries. This requires international cooperation and governance, which can be difficult to achieve due to the uneven distribution of power and resource among states. Next is an equal distribution of costs and benefits. The costs and benefits of environmental action are often unevenly distributed. Developing countries often bear a distribution burden of the impacts of environmental degradation and climate change, while having fewer resources to adapt and respond. This can lead to tensions and perceptions of injustice in international and environmental negotiation. Last is the complex and long-term nature of environmental challenges. So many environmental security challenges such as climate change and biodiversity loss are complex and require long-term solutions. This can make it difficult to mobilize political will and resources for action, as the cost of inaction may not be immediately apparent, while the benefits of action may be diffuse and long-term. So, in conclusion, in the challenges of environmental security and in conclusion, in the challenges to global and environmental security, it is a complex and critical issue that requires a multifaceted approach. Addressing in environmental challenges requires international cooperation, sustainable resource management, and equitable distribution of costs and benefits. Failure to do so will continue to exacerbate existing tensions, contribute to political instability, and threaten global security. So, what is environmental security and resource conflict connection between international relations? So, environmental security and resource conflicts have profound implications for international relations. Like environmental security as a new frontier in international relations. Environmental security challenges the traditional focus on military threats and expands the understanding of security to include non-military threats like climate change, pollution, and resource scarcity. And they have interconnectedness that highlights the environmental issues with political, economic, and social system, making it a key concern for international relations. While the resource conflict as a source of international tensions, many environmental issues like water scarcity, pollution, and deforestation cross national borders, leading to potential conflicts between states. And the competition for resources, like scarcity of resources like water, land, minerals, and energy can trigger competition between nations, potentially leading to diplomatic dispute, trade wars, or even conflicts. So in conclusion, Environmental security and resource conflicts are not just environmental issues. They are fundamental concerns for international relations. Understanding this connection is crucial for building a more sustainable, secure, and equitable country. So, environmental security and resource conflict are also closely linked in international relations. Environmental security refers to the protection of ecosystem and resources to ensure they remain sustainable and accessible for human survival. When resources like water, land, or energy become scarce or degraded due to overuse, pollution, or climate change, tensions often arise between nations or communities competing for them. So that's all. Thank you.
So these are the causes of biodiversity loss. First is the habitat loss and degradation. This is the most significant driver of biodiversity loss caused by deforestation, urbanization, agriculture, and mining. The second one is the climate change. Rising temperatures, altered precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events disrupt ecosystem and push species beyond their tolerance limits. So the third one is the overexploitation. Sustainable harvesting of wild species for food, medicine, or other purposes can lead to population declines and extinction. Overfishing, poaching, and illegal wildlife trade are major contributors. So the fourth one is the invasive species. Non-native species introduced into new environments can disrupt ecosystems, outcompete native species, and lead to biodiversity loss. And lastly is the pollution. Air, water, and soil pollution can directly kill organisms, disrupt food chains, and alter habitats. So these are the international conservation efforts. First is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES. It regulates international trade in endangered species to ensure it does not threaten their survival. The next one is the CBD, or the Convention of Biological Diversity. It aims to conserve biological diversity, promote sustainable use of its components, and ensure fair and equitable sharing of benefits from genetic resources. Lastly is the Aichi Biodiversity Targets, a set of 20 global targets under the CBD aiming for achievement by 2020. They address various aspects of biodiversity conservation, including reducing pressures on ecosystem, safeguarding species, and enhancing benefits from biodiversity.
So, good morning everyone. So today I will going to discuss the concept of environmental justice. So for an example of this of environmental justice in the global south is the Narmada anti-dam movement in India. So this grassroots campaign arose in response to the construction of the Sardar Sarovar Dam, which threatened to displace thousands of indigenous people and destroy local ecosystems. So sa mga activists nag-argue for equitable treatment and sustainable development, so they are emphasizing that marginalized communities should or not bear the brunt of environmental degradation. So case by sa mga dagko nga mga infrastructure nga projects. So the movement garnered international support, highlighting the interconnectedness of social justice and environmental issues in addressing climate action. So the next slide is about challenges faced by the developing countries. So first is limited resources. So an example ani is nations like Lesotho struggle with extended droughts or sa tuwa pa nga tagtuyo or kanang grabe nga tag-init, and water shortage or kakulangon sa tubig. nga maka-impact sa access sa safety, water drinking, and sa agricultural, like kanang wa na kay tubig nga kana bitang mabisbis sa mga tanom, like maglisod na sila og pangita kung sila mangita og tubig. So second is the dependence of fossil fuels. So example nga countries such as Chad and Somalia, so we know naman is Chad and Somalia is abundant din sila or depend sila sa mga fossil fuels, are heavily reliant on sa mga fossil fuel industries, like limiting their ability to transition to renewable energy sources while facing severe climate impacts like drought and flooding, tagtuyo o kanang mga flooding like sa tuwa pa baha, grabe nga baha. Third is vulnerability to climate change. So example in regions like Sahel, unpredictable rainfall or dili matagna nga pag-ulan, like muulan ra kalit nga dili ta ma-predict nga init kayo then mukalit ra og ulan nga. And rising temperatures are driving millions into hunger and poverty. So nag-cause na siya aning hunger and poverty. So gina-highlight diri nga the urgent need for international support for adaptation effects. So the next slide is the international institutions and developed countries can support the global south. First is the Green Climate Fund, established by the United Nations, provide financial assistance to developing countries for climate change like mitigation and adaptation projects. For instance, in 2023, the fund approved $100 million grant to Brazil for sustainable forest management in the Amazon. So this project aims to reduce deforestation, enhance carbon sequestration, and improve the livelihood of local communities. So second is the World Bank's Climate Technology Program, facilitates technology transfer to enhance renewable energy capabilities in the global south. So in the partnership with India, the program helped implement a large-scale solar power project, so providing a clean energy over 1 million households and reducing carbon emissions. So daw rin nga tabang siya natabang nga makalis sa carbon emission o sa pagkatag sa ginatawag nato nga mga carbon dioxide. So by 1.5 million ton annually. So third is the collaborative efforts demonstrate how international institutions can effectively promote sustainable development initiatives in the global south, so addressing both environmental concerns and economic development needs. So that's all for my part. Thank you.